Raging Review.
The Raging Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun.
We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Raging Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Alert! Ready? Who's that team ready? Who's that team ready? That's up.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Ladies and germs, welcome back to the Raging Review podcast. The second edition of Track the Pack. We're going to catch you up on the baseball weekend. Talk about the Tigue, talk about the atmosphere, sweepsies against BYU. Maybe touch a little softball too, because we played a team that we're a little bit familiar with, so we might even wrap it up with that at the end. First of all, hello boys. It's good to see you.
As always, same here.
I like that we're getting a little traction on the new format with the wrap-up show, so that looks good. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We're going to try to do this every Sunday to catch up everybody on the week that was in baseball and probably softball as well. So a lot to talk about today. Before we go any further, I want to give a couple of shout-outs. We were able to meet Cajun Sports Kid from Twitter. He's been a avid follower, avid fan of Raging Review from pretty much the jump. So I wanted to give him a big shout out, Mr. Douglas Edwards. It was very nice to meet him. Also, Andrew Richard was at the Tigue and in the building this weekend. It was awesome to meet guys that follow us and like what we do, and we really appreciate the support. But even more so, it's cool to connect with people that love the Cajuns, love baseball like we do. So I wanted to give them a shout out. And before we move on, I'm going to hit sponsors. Guys, you guys know Gordon McKernan has been helping us out this year. They've been a great sponsor. 888-532-1573 is their toll-free hotline. GetGordon.com. GetGordon.com. They have the G guarantee. If they don't win your case, you owe nothing. No fee, no dime, nothing at all, no cost whatsoever. So shout out to Gordon McKernan and the team. They have locations all over the state. I'm sure you guys have heard me read them off by now. I think you know where they are. Most importantly, they're headquartered in Baton Rouge. So if you need to get to them, they also have an office here in Lafayette. So thanks, Gordon, for everything that you do for Raging Review. Lafayette Roofing and General Contractors, our great friend Darren Doming and the team over there at Lafayette, at Lafayette Roofing. Locally owned, family operated, huge UL alum, huge donor to the RCAF. They do great work. Make sure you guys are looking at your roofs, inspect from time to time. If you need anything at all, please give Darren and the team a call. 337-237-7663, 237-ROOF. Great sponsor of the Raging Review podcast and UL Sports. 10,000 satisfied customers cannot be wrong. Give them a shout. Also, Patriot Steel Group, something I noticed this weekend, they are the official sponsor of the roster and the scorecards that they hand out at the Tigue. So that was a cool thing to see. I also saw their sign out there in right field. So Chris Russo is continuing his the support that his family's been able to give to the program over time has been amazing, and we appreciate everything he's done for us. Patriot Steel Group, check them out on the Patriot Steel Group LinkedIn page, or you can contact Brandon Gollett or Reed Barbier, 337-443-9296. Thanks again to Chris Russo, a great sponsor and friend to Rage and Review. Boys, we haven't swept a 4-game series in almost 30 years. It's been since the early 90s. So first what we'll do is, and just to give everybody an idea of how we're going to handle this, we'll do an overview of the week. Then we'll get into some of just, atmosphere stuff, talk about the Tigue. I know there was a few complaints in opening night, and I think we've kind of sorted that out. So that's a great thing, and I wanted to talk about that and give the correct people their kudos. But also we're going to get into the game specifically as we go. So I just want to give everybody an idea of how the show is going to go so you can follow along. Nick, you weren't able to go to the Tigue, obviously, because you live a little bit of ways. How did I know the broadcast was only 2 of the 4 games, so just from afar, how did it look on TV? How did you feel watching the game?
Yeah, it looked great. It seems like every year since we've been doing ESPN Plus, we get a little bit better and better and tighten things up. So it looked really good. I will say there was a stark contrast between game 1 and listening to the sound effects and the music and everything in the background, and game 3, and we'll get into some of that later as you suggested. But no, I thought the replays were awesome. I thought having the little first base camera in the bottom right corner was fantastic, and I thought they were right on top of the plays. So like I said, it seems to get better and better every year, and this is no different. It looks like from game 1 on, they were ready to go. There were no butterflies. There were no kinks to work out as far as the broadcast went.
That's awesome. I didn't realize they had the little deal in the corner. I didn't watch any on TV because we were at the park, but I saw that on the softball broadcast this afternoon.
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's a cool little wrinkle. What is it? They just show first base, or
yeah, they just show first base. Yeah, if they have a runner on second, runner on third, runner on first, whatever, they'll show the base, and they won't keep it up the whole time because that's a little bit distracting. But they'll keep it up long enough to see if they're going to take off, and they remove it. I mean, like I said, the timing's really good. Video Brian, I think, runs the whole show. I call him Video Brian, but Brian runs the whole show back there, and he kind of runs a tight ship. And no, it looked great. The presentation was fantastic.
I can tell you this, after watching the Coosa TV broadcast for Rice.
Gas station TV?
Yes, I'm very thankful for what we have. I got to see Jerry a couple times this weekend, so I guess we'll get into the Tigue experience, but I'll let him. What are your overview takeaways from this weekend? This week, I keep saying weekend. We started Wednesday. It was a weird schedule, but what are your thoughts on it, Jerry?
I thought it was fantastic. Wednesday night, we had a little bit of rain before it started, so I was kind of afraid that the attendance might get affected. Plus, it was Ash Wednesday, day after Mardi Gras. Of course, people are still recovering, trying to get back into the work week. But I was very impressed with that crowd. I thought the atmosphere was great, even though we started off kind of slow. But that 8th inning rally where we scored 3 runs, and of course, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but it got pretty loud. It was a lot of fun to experience that comeback and to see Blake come in and close the game out in the 9th. I mean, it was loud. So that was great. Thursday, I couldn't make it, had some other obligations, but I was able to watch it on TV. And to Nick's point, there were some cool camera angles that I got to see. That was very impressive, that they've tried out, even with softball, like you said. But Friday night was packed. I was very impressed with the crowd Friday night. When I walked in, I came in around the 4th inning, and it looked like a typical Friday night crowd, probably one of the more full Friday night crowds we've had in a long time, even, dating back to last season. And, when Julian hit that home run to center field, I mean, you could hear the crowd really get into it. I left a little early because I went to the basketball game, but I thought it was a fantastic atmosphere Friday night. And of course, yesterday, Saturday, it was, typical Tigue, loud, back and forth. A game like that, the crowd was really into it. So it was just great to be back. We've talked about atmosphere and how it's kind of lacked with football. It's lacked with basketball for the most part. I didn't feel like it lacked this weekend at the Tigue in any of the games that I attended. I thought, the atmosphere, the reputation we have for having a great atmosphere. It lived up to the reputation. And now that we're 6-1 and hopefully we can get a win against McNeese, you come in against Campbell, a good Campbell team with a 7-1 record. I think that's going to build excitement, and I think that's going to make the Tigue even louder. And plus, it's fun baseball. The way we've been playing, I mean, we've been giving fans a reason to cheer these last 4 games. So, no, just all in all, I was very impressed with the Tigue atmosphere. It was great to be back. And again, I felt like basically the atmosphere picked up from where it left off from last year. It was great.
Yeah, Carson asked if the operations kind of went smoothly and everything. I'll put it up and get it going. I can't tell you if I had an experience that was poor at the concessions all week. Now, I typically don't get a ton of concessions. I mean, I get peanuts and I'll get a beer or two almost every time. That's kind of my go-to. So I don't really stand in lines and wait for hot dogs and nachos and all this. I did hear that the crawfish nachos were outstanding. So I know we've had some issues with that in the past. I read that some of the lines were long on Wednesday. But as far as Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I don't know if I even heard a complaint about operations. I see Nick.
Let me tell you, I went to Rice. Okay, they had one concession stand open for the entire grandstand. So if you want to say you had to wait in line for a little bit, I get it. But he had one concession stand open for the whole. Well, I guess they counted 2 because they had 2 sides. So they had 2 people for the whole grandstand. You were waiting a whole inning to get a beer, right? So it's all relative. I can forgive that a little bit since I had such a negative experience here in Houston. But hopefully those times get better as the season goes on.
Jerry, any issues with concessions?
No, not at all. I didn't really get much food, but I did get a beer. And I mean, you walk in, you grab your beer, and literally when you tap we talk about the credit card machine
Breaking
at
news
Cajun
from
Field being
Nick's
broken.
Jerry got a beer.
I do drink beer at the Tigue. Okay,
Wow.
I know,
Because they don't have chocolate shakes.
They don't have vanilla shakes, Nick. Vanilla shakes. Get it right. But no, it was great because I know, at Cajun Field they've had issues with the credit card machines, and which has held the line back from 5 minutes to an hour. So at the Tigue, you go in, you grab your beer, and literally you tap the chip, and that's it. I mean, within 3 seconds, she's like, "Okay, thank you," and you walk away. I mean, it was so refreshing to go grab your drink and take less than 2 minutes. It was awesome. So I don't want to get too spoiled too fast. Things can happen, but as far as that goes, I was very satisfied as opposed to the experiences we've had. Back to the atmosphere. Same thing with concessions at the Cajun Dome, Cajun
The other
Field.
venues. Yeah.
It was night and day.
Yeah. Before we go any further, I want to encourage anybody in the Twitter space. And by the way, again, thanks for joining. I know this is a little bit new, but we're going to continue to do this. Thanks for joining. Please participate. Questions, comments, concerns, anything you'd like to say on the show. We'd love to have you guys and all your thoughts. Again, concessions were great. I had no issues. Everybody was wonderful, as they always are. The Tigue layout, it's just conducive to an easy experience. I saw some people complaining about the openness behind home plate today. Do we not talk about how that was on purpose? That is one of the best, to me, is one of the best features of the Tigue. You can stand there and watch the game in real time while you're getting your beer or whatever. I don't understand a complaint on that whatsoever.
And I'm going to say, Josh, you only notice it on night games. Like afternoon games, you don't notice it. It's really only for night games, and who cares? Because, again, you go to out-of-town games, I mean, even an Astros game, and you go and you get a beer, and you're missing an inning of baseball where when you're standing in line, all you got to do is turn around and the game's going on right there. So I don't care how it looks on TV. I really don't. And again, it only affects night games, and day games, you don't even notice it. So whatever.
Baseball's not made for TV anyway. It's
correct.
It's either on the radio or it's in person for me. I much prefer to be there or listen.
And another thing is whenever we designed the stadium, that was one of the first, amenities that, Coach Rube talked about was, when you go to the concession stand, because remember the old stadium, you didn't have that luxury. You'd hear crowd noise and you wonder what was going on. Or Nick, at the time you were PA, when you'd say it's out of here, of course I'd go, oh, I missed the home run. Great. Where I can see it now, right? When I go get a drink or whatever. And I think you can't have it both ways, right? If you want the convenience of being able to see the baseball game, unless you have some pretty backdrop or a piece of glass that makes it look somewhat presentable, it's gonna look a little bit not as, I guess it's not gonna look as presentable, right? Because in the background you see the concession stands, you see the banners of the concession stand sign or whatever food stand they have. So to me, it's either you want one or the other. Do you want to be able to see the game while you're at the concession stands, or do you not? So I know it doesn't look the best on TV, but at the same time, like you guys said, when you're at the game, it's about the in-game experience. And I think when I'm able to go get a beer or food or whatever, I can see what happened when I hear the crowd noise. Again, you know what? Let's weigh our options here. Yeah, it's either one or the other.
Well, again, it was on purpose. It was one of Robe's. It was one of the cornerstones of how he built that stadium. Anyway, speaking of the PA, I see John in here. I wanted to shout out John. I saw him after the basketball game, and we were talking about how they didn't play Sweet Caroline in the 8th inning. Can confirm here live on Rage and Review, Sweet Caroline is over. It's done. It's gone away forever. So we had a good laugh about that. And I was listening to the softball game this morning, and I heard them playing Appaloosa Sostan. Okay, look, my heart was happy, man. I don't know how many times I've said it. This is Cajun country. We should be playing our music. We have our own music. Play our own stuff. So anyway, the PA, first of all, I thought the music selection at every venue I went to this week was awesome. Softball, baseball, basketball, everywhere. I think that it impacts atmosphere more than people realize. I know it's just music selection, but it matters to me. I thought that there was a lot less of the goofy sound effects at the Tigue. Don't get me wrong. I like some of the stuff, but it feels like in the last couple of years we've overdone it a little bit. I thought that this past week they really dialed it back and did it like Nick used to do. It was very timely, and they didn't overkill it. I
Very
didn't
selective, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was much better. And going back to your comment about the atmosphere Wednesday night, I don't know if it was Ash Wednesday. I don't know if it was the Mardi Gras hangover. The weather was kind of damp and wet. Maybe that did something, and maybe it was the speakers not working and the busted one on third base side, which we can get into that in a second. But I didn't feel like Wednesday the atmosphere was there. It was kind of just like a general malaise in the fan base. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, I want to be here for opening day, but I don't know if I really want to be here. It kind of felt like that. But Thursday, Friday, Saturday was a completely different deal. Section A was in full force on Saturday for sure. Friday night was typical Friday night game where everybody was into it. And obviously, most of all the games were exciting. So that helped a lot. But as far as the overall atmosphere at the Tigue, it felt like old times. Jared, do you feel something similar about the play selection and the music and all that stuff? You think it kind of helped?
It did, and it adds to atmosphere. We always talk about our culture. We always talk about being unique in many ways compared to other schools around the country, and we have to use that to our advantage. And one of the easiest ways to do that is the music we play. I mean, we have our own genre of music down here. So I thought they did a good job. I thought John did a good job with the music selection. I actually told him that it brought back some memories of the old times, like when Nick, you were doing PA and doing the music selection. And that's what makes us so unique. You got to use that to your advantage. And, I thought the mixture of music was really good too. I also thought, as far as the sound effects go, I did think that some of it was, like the boring and the glass shatter. I thought I might have heard that one too many times.
It's run its course for me. I'll tell you.
That's not something that's going to ruin my experience, right?
No.
I mean, it's not the worst, thing ever. But no, John did a good job. The guys in the booth did a great job. So I was satisfied. Just fix the speakers, man, so I can actually hear the players and the player coming up to bat and stuff. That's the main thing right now.
Look, I just want to say I'm going to take credit for starting Sweet Caroline. Actually, that was TD Smith. He's the one he asked me to play Sweet Caroline, so I played it. I didn't know, and then that just carried on. But Super John texted me and he's like, "Hey, are we doing Sweet Caroline?" And I'm like, "Screw that. Play something else, man." And so my brother asked me too. He's like, "Hey, we're not doing Sweet Caroline." I was like, "No, we're not doing Sweet Caroline. We're done with Sweet Caroline." So whether that's a good or bad thing, I started it and I hopefully killed it. But I'm with you. Let's do something local. Let's have fun with it. Let's get a new song. I Got Loaded, but we could do 50,000 other songs that are local for that moment. So yeah, I'll take all the blame for it if you like Sweet Caroline. My bad.
You know what? You can play instead of Sweet Caroline, for all the people that are mad, you can play Keith Frank Haters.
Yeah, but that's a softball thing. You can't do a softball thing, man. You got to do your own
No,
thing, you know?
I'm joking. I'm joking. No, I think no.
But
again,
haters, okay, I get where you're going with
you
that.
get it.
Haters,
Yeah,
okay,
haters.
I
No,
get
I'm
it.
kidding. But no, I thought it was. I got loaded is as good as it gets. So I was very satisfied with that. And look, people reacted to it. They were kind of looking around like, huh, I don't hear Sweet Caroline, but I'll take this. This is a good song. This is different. Got that vibe from a bunch of fans too doing that.
Yeah, somebody was Justin. Justin just said he didn't realize they didn't play it until Section A started singing it on their own, which I thought was pretty funny. And look, if that's their tradition that they sing it on their own, that's cool. I just hate the song, and it has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with Lafayette, Louisiana, Raging Cajun baseball, anything at all. It had a good run. It was cool for a while. I am more partial to Neon Moon. I think Neon Moon would be a nice touch in the 8th inning. It always seems to get people to sing. So, but anyway, if we want to talk about things that we can change, how
Time
about
out.
we?
If you're going to do Neon Moon, are you going to do a little TikTok dance too? I mean, if you're going to do the TikTok dance.
What's the TikTok dance?
Oh, come on,
Well, COVID
man. You don't
Carolina
know-
did it.
Oh, never mind. Then we're not doing it.
I don't know anything about the TikTok
Well, good.
stuff.
We're
No, just
nixing that. If
leave it that
COVID
way.
Carolina did it, we're not
Let's
doing it.
keep, yeah.
They did the
COVID
TikTok
Carolina
thing, or they
did
did the song.
They did the song. The bunch of their football players after they backed out of our championship game, they did Neon Moon. So no.
Yeah, they were well enough to do that, but they couldn't play.
Don't get me started, man. Complaints, and then we'll move on to the game. We got to get the scoreboard fixed. Has anybody heard anything about why the hell we can't get our stats up? BYU had all their stats, and it was updating, but we couldn't get, everything was 0 for us. Do we have any idea why that happened? And it happened the whole week. So it was weird. And, Wednesday, they had a rough go of it. They really did. I mean, we had people that don't know how to punch buttons for balls and punch buttons for strikes, and that was rough. No slight if you're in here, but look, we got to do better.
Look, I'm just going to tell you, Josh,
it's supposed to be one of the greatest atmospheres in college baseball. We got to know what a ball and a strike is. We got to fix that.
I think the problem is, and I don't know about the balls and strikes thing, but I think the scoreboard thing, and I think the stats and getting all that, and the speakers and all that stuff. And trust me, I'm not being a defender for the administration, but there's so much turnover year after year, and we probably need to do a better job of planning for that and saying, okay, a week ahead of time, let's get together, do a run through, and make sure everything works. But every year there are those same issues because you have so much turnover from the people who run the game day and the people who are pressing the buttons on the scoreboard. And you had a new music guy this year, and so I think maybe a little foresight in the future and saying, okay, let's get together 2 weeks ahead of time, test everything out, make sure it's running, is a good idea, because it seems like every year we're back in the same thing, complaining about the same things that get fixed, right? They listen and they fix it. So kudos to them for listening. But it's like the first game every year, we're kind of behind the 8 ball going, why isn't this working? Why does this sound like this, right? And it's a black eye a little bit for us and going, that wasn't a great experience. Let's make it better.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just thought that this past Wednesday was worse than years past. Something was right. And then the fact that, we always talk about control the things we can control, the bulbs working on the scoreboard. That's little stuff that, my wife made the comment that, Roe would never let this happen on opening night.
Dude, no. Not only would Roe
Somebody
not
would
let
be
it
getting
happen,
their ass lit up.
Bab would be on the thing that goes up, changing it himself. No joke. Before the first game every year on the old scoreboard, he was on there, that lift before every game. Somebody just needs to go out and do it. Take ownership, right?
Speaking of Bab, Nick, was he on the TV broadcast with Brennan?
No, it was Dan and Brennan.
I saw him. Well, he was on the radio for the Rice
away
series,
games. Yeah,
and I didn't know if he was going to be back in the booth, but I did see Jay and Top, so I didn't know if he was still going to do something in some
yeah.
capacity.
No, I think the plan is for him to do the color on the away games. So
Okay.
any road games, he'll be taking Top's place.
It was weird to see him when we were walking out. He was glad handing as people were leaving the stadium. It's just different, man, to see him standing there. We talked to him for a few minutes, and I don't know, it was just jarring. Like, you're supposed to be on the field. What are you doing here? But anyway, let's get into game one. A very exciting game. BYU comes in and they start a true freshman, making his very first start in D1. The weird thing about that, and this is like BYU in general, but all of their freshmen are like 25. He's actually, I think he was 22 years old. So I don't know, man. It was kind of weird he looked the part. He was 6'6", huge, I don't know, maybe 205, something like that. He wasn't a beanpole. He was a full grown man. but he was still making his very first start. So you expect this offense especially to kind of get after a guy like that. I don't know. I was kind of underwhelmed early on, but he settled in and he really just kept us off balance the entire game. His entire start. He went 7 strong. What did he give up? 1 earned? No, he gave up no earned runs. We got into their bullpen and started making people pay for mistakes. But, you know, he was an unknown. I don't think he pitched at all against Louisiana Tech. I might be wrong on that. So don't take me for sure on that. But I don't think if he got any innings, it wasn't many because his stats were minimal. But he looked good. I mean, he had a very good secondary pitch. I think it was a circle change. I'm not 100% sure what he was throwing, but it was effective against our hitters. He had them on their back heels. They were guessing at times. And, you know, we've seen a lot of times early in the season that these Degs lineups can be taken advantage of with a pitcher that has a good secondary, especially an off-speed pitch. And I thought that Ben Hansen did a very good job of mixing his pitches and hitting his spots. He was impressive, to say the least. And then on our side, we started Brendan Moody. Didn't know what to expect. You know, I'd heard Deg say that Brendan Moody thinks he's a starter, but they like him on the back end of the bullpen. I saw him in the scrimmages during fall, and in my view, as far as the bullpen goes, and again, we thought he was going to be an inning or 2 guy, I loved his stuff more than probably anybody else. I would tell people I would talk to, everything he throws falls out of zone, everything. He has a good little cutter. He was sitting 89, 90. You know what I mean? That can be effective. But most important to me was that he evolved as the game went on. He changed the way that he pitched these guys. He went up and down their lineup, and you know, you give up that big leadoff double, then he gets 2 outs, and you think he's going to get out of it, and then he gives up the second double in the first inning. It's only a run. It's not a crooked number, but you're thinking, all right, how does that shake his confidence? A guy like Brendan Moody getting a chance where the coaching staff wants to use him in the bullpen. He wants to be a starter. They give him a chance. First inning, he gives up a run. How's he going to respond? Well, all he did was come out and throw 5 shutout after that. So I was extremely impressed with Brendan Moody. And then obviously Cooper Rawls and David Christie come down, and I know that David Christie kind of got touched up there in that, I think it was the 7th inning. But all in all, you know, it was just one of those games. It was back and forth. And then, of course, Blake Marshall comes in and slams the door, which I can't remember a guy like that. You know, we've seen Blake pitch, but he's still largely an unknown. I can't remember the last time we had somebody come in and throw that amount of dominating, dominating pitches in a moment where you had guys on base, you're trying to preserve a win. That was some impressive stuff. So thoughts on pitching from you guys. Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to say, when I talked to my brother before the series started, I know the coaching staff was very high on their starter for Wednesday. They thought he would be really good, and he turned out to keep us, like you said, keep us off balance for 7 innings. So they were high on him. They were high on the Friday night guy as well. But I'm with you. I mean, Moody, look, the stat that jumps out on me is we've had so many problems with free base runners, and I thought we did a really, really good job Wednesday night Moody only allowed 1 base on balls. I think there was 1 hit by pitch, and then there was another, a couple of free passes for the whole night. And I think that's what we need to do. And we saw that kind of, change as the series went on, and as we got into Saturday, went downhill from there. But I thought that was a key, is that he had great control. He had good stuff. He gave us 6 innings, right? And he kept the free base runners to a minimum. So I think he did his job. And look, I'll agree with someone in here, maybe, who was it? Justin said Saturday guy. I would agree with him on that. I think he's a good Saturday starter for us. If we don't need him on the back end, but we'll see how things kind of play out, because we're still looking for that 4th starter. I don't know that we're set on that yet.
Agree. And unfortunately, Jackson Nizu, I've heard it 15 different ways.
I think it's Neza.
Neza. Okay, well, he's having a rough go of it early in the season. So I'm not saying that he's losing his job. I have no inside information on that. But, he's been given 2 opportunities, and in 2 opportunities it hasn't looked good. So hopefully he can fix it. But, maybe he's a bullpen guy that we can rely on. I just don't know if he's done enough to keep that job on Sunday. So, Jerry, your thoughts?
One thing we always know about a pitching staff under Coach Deggs is whoever is named the first weekend usually it's gonna change within a month or two. That's the way it is. He's not afraid to, whether it's him or Tibbs, they're not afraid to take chances with other pitchers if their original starters aren't getting it done. And Robe did the same thing. And that's what I find about this weekend. That's why I thought this 4-game series was very important, because of the way we were able to use our pitching rotation, and they were able to experiment with it. And we'll talk about it as time goes on. But I thought Brennan pitched a heck of a game. I didn't know much about him. I knew he came from LSUE. He had what was it, like a 3.5 ERA coming in, and really, we knew he had some good stuff, but until you actually go out on the mound and pitch, you really never know. And he lit it up. I mean, he did a great job. I thought that as Robe talks about minimizing, he used to talk about minimizing the damage. I thought we did that in the field a few times. I thought he pitched a great game. I think he got close to like 88, 88 pitches. Gave up one run? Was it? Yeah,
so
one earned run.
The line on Brendan Moody is 6 strong, 6 solid innings, 4 hits, a run, 1 earned run. He had 1 walk. He did have 8 Ks. He had a hit by pitch, and yeah, he threw 88 pitches. And I like the fact that early in the season, Brendan maybe he could have gone out for another inning, but I like the way that Seth is handling these pitchers. He's keeping them under 90 pitches. He's not letting them go too deep. You got to take care of these arms early in the season, just like Robe used to do. I see a lot of similarities there. You don't want to overextend a guy like Brennan, who, they've said there's a little bit of effort with him, so it kind of is, it can take a toll. I love the fact, I like the way that they're handling him. You saw what they did with Tommy Ray, who he was cruising, and we'll get into Tommy later, but Brennan, and then also Hammond the other night, he could have gone more, but they protected him at Rice, and they protected him against BYU. I appreciate that very much.
Look, excuse me, I'll go first. If that cost us a game down the road in the early part of the season because we pulled somebody a little too early because of pitch count, I'll be good with that. Know,
yes.
I'll blame that on the bullpen. But unlike the school 60 miles down the road who has a head coach that ruins kids' arms, we're going to protect our kids, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
Well, also too, I think with Brendan, 88 pitches, one earned run given up, and just the stuff he was throwing the other night. That's how you get into the weekend rotation with this staff. That's how you're going to get your shot, whether it's a Saturday or Sunday. I don't know. But if he's able to do this, moving forward, and he's able to show that same consistency, he will be a weekend starter. Because let's be honest, that was our biggest worry coming in. You got 3 brand new arms on the weekend. And of course, you're not going to get through the season just out hitting teams. You're going to run into games where you're not going to hit as well. So you're going to need pitching to bail you out. I think if someone like Brendan Moody can give these same type of performances moving forward, then there's no doubt he should be a weekend guy. But I was very impressed with him. Like I said, I didn't know much about him coming in, but no, it was a great night on the mound for him. And hopefully we can get more of that as time goes on.
Let's not take it away from Blake Marshall. I mean, 1.2 innings, 5 strikeouts. You kidding me?
Dude struck out everybody he saw.
30.
I think 90% of the pitches he threw were sliders, and they were disgusting. And he touched. Look, he's 90-91 with the fastball. If he hits his spots with the slider, I'm telling you, that guy, he definitely can be the closer for this baseball team. He was nasty. Every time we've seen him this year, he's been disgusting. So that was great to see. In total, Cajun pitching gave up 7 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 runs, 2 base on ball. Had 13 Ks on the night. Again, 5 of those were the last 5 outs of the game, which was just awesome. Hit by pitch, just 1, and 138 pitches as a staff. The game was nip and tuck. We got a 1 unearned run off of Ben Hansen, and then we touched Sam Beck, for 2 later, and then Jake Porter gave up a run in the final 2 outs for the Cajuns. So, look. I think that's a great team win. You got a good performance out of Cooper Rawls. Yes, he only faced 1 batter, but he did his job. David Christie, I think he got a little bit of a tough luck line there. 3 hits, 2 earned runs in just an inning, base on ball. Unfortunate. I think David Christie showed you a little bit in that outing that it's not going to show up on the stat sheet. But I don't want people to give up on David Christie. We need him. We're going to need him in middle innings. I think he's one of those guys that can go 3 or 4 innings for you. We just got to find some consistency with him, and maybe his confidence needs to come back. I don't know what's going on, but remember, as a freshman, man, he was dominant in a couple of outings. So let's not give up on him. I thought in general, just well done on a Wednesday night weird midweek game to open the Tigue. You know, there was a lot of things that was not, baseball is a game of regimen. You know how it is. So I thought it was a good effort.
I think what was very pleasing in the eighth inning, besides, obviously the 3-run rally was fantastic, but it was who got the hits to get the three runs. I mean, you have Mason Zambo, who obviously we know that he's got a lot of moxie to his swing. We all knew coming in that he was a great hitter, but until you actually get the experience out there and you're on the field, you really don't know. And the fact that he was able to come in the eighth, there was a full count and he was able to hit an oppo and get 2 runs in. That's huge. That's huge. And then, it was a great at bat. Then you've got true freshman who's a stud, Caleb Stelly getting that single in and to get the go ahead run. That's 2 guys in the lineup that are fairly new. Those are 2 guys in the lineup where coming into the season, you really don't know much about them. But that's 2 guys in the lineup that now that if someone like, say, Julian Brock or Rocco or Debo have an off night, you can at least depend on them to step up and basically, carry the load. And that reminds me of that 13 to 16 run, 2013 to 2016, those 4 years where we had guys like that, where you didn't have much expectation. They weren't sort of the go-to batters, and yet you still had hitters who, whether they could come in as a pinch hitter or just come in from the bottom of the lineup and get it done. So that shows a lot of promise. I'm very excited to see what Zambo can do, because he's got some power to his swing. But Caleb Stelly, to me, I mean, he was pretty much the surprise player this weekend as far as at the plate. I mean, he was outstanding, especially as a true freshman.
I'll tell you what was surprising to me was how much they trust him. The game is not fast for him. I mean, he had some big time at bats and big time moments. And I know that wasn't a blast in the gap or something to score that run, but it was a flare. He had a great at bat. He fought off the pitch and he got rewarded for it. A lot of freshmen melt in that situation.
In that moment? Oh, absolutely. In that moment, I mean, and what's funny is he kind of reminds me of just like Debo and just like Blake Trahan. When they were as true freshmen, you didn't know they were true freshmen. They just had that swagger about them where it didn't matter. They just wanted to play and compete. And that's that prototypical Degs player. And that's what gets me excited about Caleb, is that he goes out there, man. It doesn't matter if he's a freshman. He doesn't feel like he gets under pressure, and he's only going to get better with more experience. So no, I thought he was the player of the series, just because he was able to step up at times like that and get it done.
I just feel like this team, for the first time in a few years, feels like a team where we didn't have like a drop off from the previous season. Like we got to a regional last year and then it's like you're starting all over again. It doesn't feel like we're starting all over again. Like we had a good core come back. They're performing like they were towards the latter end of the season. And some of those, maybe, Rocco wasn't performing that well for the first couple of games. I know Mark Schock's kind of struggling a little bit, but you got guys behind them that are doing the work and kind of picking up the slack. So it feels like we're not waiting for that cohesiveness that we were waiting for last year. It feels like they're there. And that's encouraging, because if we're here at the beginning of the season, that's promising to see where we end up this season. I don't know. I'm kind of getting geeked up about it by just seeing the way that the guys are kind of picking up the slack for those who aren't really pulling their weight right now for one reason or another. Pitching wise, again, we still need to figure some things out, but for me, the first couple of weekends has been a good sign for how things, I think, will progress as we go on.
It's encouraging. I mean, and everybody knows he's going to come around. Max is going to come around. All of these guys that are veteran players, we know they're going to come around. So, no, I'm with you, Nick. I love the fact that you have these younger guys stepping up in their place, because once everybody clicks, that 1 through 9 lineup is going to be dangerous. And we saw some of that this weekend. But anyway, Josh, it's all you, man.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, Catherine brought this up. She made a great point. Where are the holes in this lineup? You think Max Marshak's going to hit 200 for the season? He won't. You think that Carson Rockefeller's going to continue to swing the bat the way he has? I mean, I don't know what's going on. Look, if you have a guy that's on the Golden Spikes Award watch list, they're going to get the opposing pitcher's best every single time they're at the plate. They're going to pitch around him. I think that there were so many times last year where he felt like he had to carry the load. I mean, go back and look at how many clutch RBI that guy had. 2 outs, man at third. He was our last hope. Boom, you get the hit. It happened all year long. So I wonder if he still has a little bit of that in his psyche where he thinks he needs to carry the load. I think the rest of this lineup is picking him up and showing him, hey, we're going to protect you. So,
but let's put it in perspective. I can't pull up the stats right now, but what is he batting? Like 300?
I don't know. I think he has like 9 or 10 RBI, but no, it's I don't know. I'm going to try to pull it up as much as I.
Okay, so let's say he's batting 250, and we're complaining. I mean, not complaining, but we're saying, oh, he's in a slump and he's batting, 285, 300. Like that just puts in perspective how freaking good he is. So yeah, I get it, but I don't know. I just have a good feeling about how things are starting. Again, we've got guys and young guys who are able to pick up the slack for those who are kind of struggling right now. But like Catherine said, where are the holes in this lineup? I can't find one right now.
Look at how many options you have at DH. Connor Higgs has been your starter half the season so far. He can swing it, and I know he's not ripping the cover off the ball, but he's going to get right. It's just a matter of time. If Stelly's going to continue to be trusted by the staff, you have that as an option. Zambo's been a revelation at first base. He also solidifies the corner over there. So you have a guy that plays corner defense with a corner bat. Okay, he's your prototypical first baseman. That's exactly what we need. We've been needing that for a long time. So you got that going for you. You have CJ, who still is hitting the ball. I mean, I don't know. I think that he'll settle somewhere, but right now he's giving you clutch at bats. Even when he's not, I think his on base percentage is through the roof. It's like one of the best in the conference. So he has good at bats. It feels like every time he steps to the plate. I know he struggled on was a Thursday. He struggled. I think he struck out twice. But other than that, overall for the year, he's swinging a good bat. I'm trying to think of everybody. Look at how many people came to the plate on Thursday when we scored 11 runs. I think I'm going to count them before we get out of here, but it was something like 16 people got plate appearances. Debo had a great day Thursday, but overall, you think Debo's going to pick it up a little bit here. It looks like he's getting hot, as we go. He looks better and better and better. He showed you a little power. He got robbed of the home run on Friday, I think. I'm going to try to stay on task before we go ahead, but there are no holes. There are no holes in the lineup. It's the ebb and the flow is going to be what it is. It's baseball. Some days you're going to be hot and some days you won't. But look at Heath Hood. Every time, name a time you've seen Heath Hood look overmatched at the plate. The answer is 0. He hasn't. He looks like an All-American. I mean, he's playing like one. Julian Brock, he's another one. Kind of started slow. He's catching fire. I mean, 2 doubles to end the game. Well, look, I'm getting ahead of myself. The game on Saturday when he hit those 2 doubles, his last 2 at bats. I mean, those are piss missiles. I mean, he's not missing the ball. Even his outs are loud. So anyway, we go to BYU comes back to the Tigue on Thursday. We absolutely shellacked them. At no point did BYU even look competitive in that game. Let me see if I can pull up all right. Yes. My boy, Tommy Ray. I'm so proud of Tommy. I'm happy for Tommy. Got to know his dad a little bit at the regional, the great folks. So I'm always thinking about Tommy. When we saw Tommy at the LSU scrimmage 2 falls ago, I remember there was some talk that he was going to be our Friday night guy going into the 2022 season, if you guys remember that. And I was raving about him. I thought that he competed. I thought that all of his stuff moved. He had velocity. He had everything you want for a Friday night starter. He looked the part, big and imposing. And then, a little bit lackluster, results throughout the season, and he ended up in the pen, and it just didn't work out for him. But they seem to think that he's got it together. And if you look at that outing, we got to keep in mind that BYU is not a bad offensive club. I mean, look at what they did Saturday. I mean, really, they competed at the plate the entire week except for Thursday. But Tommy Ray was filthy. Gave up 3 hits. He had 2 walks, but he gave you 6 innings, and he threw 88 pitches. Only 4 Ks, but it doesn't matter. He was cruising. And then he got relieved by J.T. Etheridge, which somebody said, who was that? Justin said that he was impressed with Etheridge. I was too. And I know this is going to be taken, not seriously, but I know it's easier to pitch with a lead. I understand that, but there's some nuance there. Sometimes people get worried about the ERA and they don't want to throw strikes. They don't want to be the guy that gives up the 4-run inning and starts the comeback. I give credit to JT for coming in and throwing strikes. He filled up the zone. He challenged hitters. It didn't matter. It could have been 2-0 or 10-0. He looked like the guy that was out there on a mission. We need that in the bullpen. We've lacked that in the last 4 or 5 years. Not all of the guys. I'm not saying we haven't had a robust amount of options for people that are just going to come in and throw strikes. I love the way he pitched with a lead. And then, of course, we saw Jerry Couch for an inning, who apparently staff likes. And he looked good. He did walk a guy, but he struck out a guy. So it was another. You use 3 pitchers in a game, you feel good about that. I mean, you never want to empty the clip. You don't want to have to use 5 and 6 guys in relief because you can't throw strikes. We've seen that already this year a couple of times. I hate that. You have a lead, use it to your advantage, attack the hitter, fill up the strike zone. Now, BYU started Jack Sterner, who absolutely carved up Louisiana Tech, who's another pretty decent hitting team. All he did was give up 9 hits and 8 runs in 4 1/3. I mean, absolutely tattooed that guy. And you heard Jay Walker talk about how Jack Sterner was the best they had. He's first team all West Coast Conference. I think it's West Coast Conference for baseball, right? BYU.
Yeah, they're going to Big 12, Big 10.
Yeah,
they're going to Big
July,
something.
they'll be in the Big 12.
Right.
Yeah, Big 12.
So we treated their best pitcher rather rudely, and we continue to do that. Ferrero wasn't very good. They threw a guy named Carter Foss, which, by the way, did y'all see all the roster names? There were Ozzie Pratt. You know, a lot of that kind of stuff. Hudson.
I saw that some of their players were on Tinder, so that's exciting.
Yeah, don't let me forget to talk about that because I don't understand what happened there. So really just good pitching and coupled with guys that were just ripping the ball to shreds. Debo had 3 hits. Hoodie had a hit. Lee Amity got an at-bat, which is great. Landry Wilkerson got an at-bat. Carson Rockefeller had, did he hit a home run? Was it him that hit the bomb on Thursday? Anyway, I can't read these damn stats.
There were so many hits all over the ballpark. I can't tell you, but I think he did. I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, he had 2 hits, 2 RBI, 2 base on balls. So he had a good day at the plate, which is great to see. Zambo, can confirm it's Zambo, by the way. Apparently we've made contact with his high school coach. It's Zambo, so I look like an idiot, but whatever. Jew had a hit. Ben Robichaux and Clay Wargo each had plate appearances, which is cool to see. Though I know that Wargo is the Chanticleer, so I got to take it easy on him. But he got in that bat and got some playing time. Julian got a break, which is great. CJ had a hit. Luke Uhas had 2 at bats. I want to see that guy hit the ball because if you've seen the Bat Bros video, he could hit it to Opelousas from here. That guy's huge. Maxie got a hit. But point is that so many people came to the plate, got some experience, got some playing time. That was really great to see, and they were bolstered by a great bullpen. It was what Mike Desormeaux would call complementary football, complementary baseball, however you want to say that. Anything stood out to you, Nick, on Thursday?
Yeah, hitting. I mean, again, Ray was locked down, lights out, whatever you want to call it. He was awesome, and everybody ate. Again, impressive when you consider, and you alluded to it, you said it earlier, UL Ruston's a pretty good baseball team, and so they split with them, and they swung the bat and they hit against Ruston. So they're not a bad baseball team, and I think we need to keep that into perspective when you look at, there were some 1-run games in there, but look at what they did previously in their last very small sample size, but I think that bodes well for them for the rest of the season and also for us. So no, I think it was just a total team effort on Thursday night.
Total domination. BYU mustered 5 hits, Jerry.
Crazy.
I love the fact that everybody got an at-bat just about. I mean, guys like Ben Robichaux, Uhas, Clay Wargo, John Taylor. I think a few of them, Connor Higgs, LaFleur, Peyton Lejeune. I mean, there were a few of them that actually got RBIs and got some base hits, and that's huge. Any type of experience you can get. Usually guys like that will get some play time in the midweek game, but, this, I know it landed on a Thursday night, but it's still kind of considered a weekend, and you actually got to play a decent team in BYU instead of playing some, I don't know, an in-state school that, they're playing their backups as well. I was very pleased when I started seeing some of those names because it's all about the experience. And when usually when they're coming in against a team that you're playing on the weekend, that usually means you're dominating the game. So just good for the younger guys to get some experience, good for the younger guys to actually get in the field. Very pleased with the pitching. I mean, it was a shutout. It was a shutout against a team that really got some clutch hits that Wednesday night. And couldn't do anything. Couldn't do anything Thursday. So that was very pleasing. And just in general, when you beat a big brand name like BYU and you shut them out 11-0, that's just satisfying as a Cajuns fan. Doesn't matter. Usually in a midweek game against a team that you're expected to beat, that's one thing. But when you do it against a team that's about to join the Big 12, that's another. So just a satisfying win overall, just because it was one of those games where we kind of knew, like, we were waiting for Degg's ball to come out where we're just hitting, and we did. So to Nick's point, it was nice to see us hit, but it was also nice to see a lot of guys that really don't get that much experience to actually get some at-bats and have a chance to play.
Not one single hitter on Thursday for BYU had more than one hit. That's impressive. And they made 2 errors. I'll tell you what, I was not impressed with their defense whatsoever. I thought that they were bad. I thought their catcher was not good. Pabon, we'll go with that. I thought we abused him the way we should have. That's exactly what you need to do with a catcher like that. You abuse him.
And look, by the way, before you go on, I just want to say there are some northern coaches that are starting to complain about the season starting so early and wanting to push it back a little bit. And look, I'm not going to defend that. Whatever your thoughts are, your thoughts, but I do think that has a little bit to do with it because they don't have the luxury of practicing outdoors. And they have to. I mean, what was this? Like an 8-game road trip they had to be on? That's tough. I don't care for what you are.
So 2 weeks.
Yeah, that is tough for them. So I just want to mention that northern coaches are starting to push back and wanting to push the season back a month.
Real quick, Carson T, appreciate you thanking us for covering occasions. We do it. It's fun. We're here to have fun with y'all. So appreciate you checking us out. And hello to Joel Bio saying to keep grinding, and he appreciates everything we do. Hope that little one is good over there, Joel. Keeping y'all happy and doing what kids do, make you smile. Mike Potan wants to talk about the conference as a whole. We will do that after we finish with the individual games, Mike. So hang on. We're certainly going to do that. As of at the end of Friday, I don't know if this carried over to Saturday, but at the end of Friday, Sun Belt Conference Baseball was the #1 RPI league in America. So that's pretty cool. I think overall it was like 63-20, maybe. Pretty cool. So we'll definitely talk about that, Mike, so just hang tight. Game 3 with BYU, good old-fashioned pitching duel. I was interested to see how Game 3 would go after you had, a very nip-and-tuck game to start the series, and then you had a total blowout. It was similar to Rice in some ways. But it was great to know that Jake was going to be going. Jake Hammond was going to be going on Friday night. So I didn't know what to expect, but we got treated to a pitcher's duel. I mean, really, that's what happened. Jake was great. He went 6 full, 3 hits, 1 run, no earned, 5 walks, a little uncharacteristic. Didn't end up hurting him, threw 92 pitches and had 5 Ks. Jake was good. I think Jake was better last week, I'll be honest with you, but he fought. It was one of those games where you could tell he didn't have his best stuff, but he just continued to fight. He continued to get big outs, and I think that's why he is your Friday night starter. I think that his makeup, his mental makeup, and his ability to compete at an elite level is what earned him that role, and so far so good. Even when he didn't have his best stuff. And also, Ryan Broussard was behind the plate, so don't be shocked that he walked 5 people. He probably walked 2 people, let's be honest. I mean, I know some people think that Ryan Broussard's a good umpire. I'm here to tell you. I sat next to that guy many times on a diamond, and he's not very good. And I wish he would come into the space so we could have a conversation. He's terrible. Anyway, Carson Fluno, we got to see him again. He went a full inning and didn't give up anything. He's K'd 2 guys. Dylan Toit came in a little bit all over the place at first, but he got it together. Got 4 outs for you, 2 Ks there. And then, of course, you finished off with what's looking like going to be your back-end shutdown guy in Blake Marshall. He got another K in 2/3 of an inning. It was good to see him finish that. Again, guys on base, you feel like you don't have a chance when Blake walks in. It's starting to feel that way. And I know it's only a couple of performances, but I'm a little bit biased. I'm a big Blake Marshall fan. Been kind of talking him up for 2 years now, so I'm glad he's finally healthy. I'm glad he's able to get this opportunity, and he's taken it and run with it. BYU started Bryce Robinson. Sorry, I messed that up the whole game. I thought it was good. In fact, I thought he was better than Sterner. Obviously, Sterner's line wasn't very good, but I thought his stuff was more deceptive, and I liked his release and everything. We struggled with him, obviously, but big hits. We ended up getting to Mason Olson, who gave up that late earned run. I don't know. I thought he was okay, but mostly I was impressed with Bryce Robinson. I thought that he battled. He was very good. Anybody have thoughts on pitching?
Yeah, I'll just say, look, first of all, Ryan Broussard as a person, I have no problem with. As an umpire, But anyway, when you look at the fact that we came into this game, or we came into this series ranked 213 in walks allowed per 9 innings, I don't care who's behind the plate. We got to do better. Like you gotta adjust on the mound. If a guy has a big strike zone, gotta adjust. If he's got a tiny strike zone, you gotta throw it down the heart of the plate. And so 10 walks in this game is concerning for me. Again, doesn't matter who's behind the plate. You gotta adjust. You gotta make that adjustment. But what is encouraging, as you said, is the fact that we gave up 10 walks, but still managed to pretty much dominate otherwise, right? So he still got out of jams. We still figured our way out of bases loaded several times. So that's good, and our bats were good enough to bring us the win. This kind of win, just like the last few one-run games that we've had, will be so important as we go through the season, especially as we go to postseason. Those kind of wins really make a difference. We saw it last year, right? We saw it whole lot last year and how that paid off. So I think this is a good win, but we have got to cut down on the free bases. That is driving me nuts. And we're 2 weeks into the season, and I get it, we're early, but we got to start getting that down soon. We got to fix that. That's concerning to me.
It's amazing that you had a 2-1 score with 10 walks. Now,
unbelievable.
Pitching was able to strand 10 runners for BYU. It was stressful. That's a lot of stress pitches, and that's not good early in the season. Jerry?
Honestly, I think this was one of those games where we not only won by pitching, but your pitching came in in the clutch, even in spite of walking batters, because you left, I want to say BYU left 10 men on base, but a lot of that credit goes to pitching. Getting us out of jams, finding ways to, correct the mistakes of actually putting them on base to begin with. That's huge. That was the biggest concern for me coming into the season, in that you're going to find nights where you're not going to hit. Well, we really didn't hit the ball well on Friday night. Really, I don't know what we were looking at on Friday night. I don't think we saw the ball well. I just don't.
You were looking at a guy who was filthy. I mean, Robinson
he was. I mean, we were striking out. We were striking out swinging a few times.
I'll just tell you,
I think that he's the best arm we've seen this year.
I was gonna say when I talked to my brother after that game, he said that guy is the best pitcher they have, and he said that was the one we had our eye on. So he's good.
But with that said, our pitching was able to counter that. And when you have a bunch of guys that come in and you're really trying to find an identity in a pitching staff, this is the type of game that builds confidence in your bullpen. This is the type of game that builds confidence in some of these pitchers that may not have as much experience, but seeing what they did against BYU in this particular game, later on down the year, that's where moments like these help them step up. It's like the story with Andy Groh, right? When Robe talks about when Andy Groh pitched against LSU in the midweek and got rocked, but then he was ready against South Carolina in that game 2 of the Super Regional. I kind of allude that, not to say that obviously the pitchers didn't get rocked, but later on in the season, when you start playing in conference and you start playing teams that can hit, you can go back to this game and go, I obviously have what it takes to be able to have a pitching duel. And no, I thought this was a game we needed to win through pitching, and we did. And I think that's gonna pay dividends as the season goes on, just because of the fact that you won by pitching and not just by the bats, which is what we have a reputation for.
Well, speaking of that, against an elite level arm, you gotta lean on your leaders, you gotta lean on your star power. And that's exactly what we did to win this game. Debo, Hood, Julian Brock got the 5 hits. So big time moments, your big time players have to step up, and that's exactly how we ended up getting that win. I'm very impressed by how, when you go out and score 11 runs against a team that can swing it, I'm telling you, man, especially, it doesn't matter if you're 35, 45, it's easy to let down, to kind of put your guard down. They came out and fought. It was a pitcher's duel, but there were many times in that game where they could have packed it up, but they didn't. That is impressive, and just that in and of itself is impressive to me, because I was very interested to see how they would respond after blowing out, again, against Rice. You come out on Saturday, you blow their doors off. Sunday, I think when you go up 5-0, I think that they got a little bit complacent. I think that that's what happened on the last game with Rice. So
Well, we struck out 14 times on Friday night. We struck
Yeah.
out 14 times. So most of the time you lose a game when you strike out 14 times. And even Deggs alluded to it after the game. He's like, we struck out 14 times. But he said that the grit of this team and the way these guys have each other's backs, that's what pulled us through. I mean,
and then we didn't even talk about Julian Brock's home run. Holy cow.
which, by the way, I mean, that's major league right there. I mean, that's major league.
Center fielder doesn't move. The sound that it made was, Catherine said it was a car crash.
Well,
but the ball was, you knew the ball was gone when it crossed the pitcher's head.
Well,
it never looked like it was going to come down. It just kept rising.
Well, here's the thing. The Tigue's not a hitter's ballpark. It's almost, I mean, when you hit it out to center field, it drops.
And Jerry, it drops. It's late February, and there's so much humidity in the air this week. It's stagnant air out there, and those guys from BYU even made those comments. They were saying that's some thick air that we're not used to hitting in. You saw they had some warning track power, but you got to be a man to get it out of this ballpark.
It's a graveyard in center field at the Tigue. It always has been. And for Julian to basically, like, from the second the bat hit the ball, like you said, you knew it was gone. It's and how it carried out. I mean, that is major league right there. That's what major league batters do. Thankfully he did that, because outside of his home run, we really weren't doing anything else at the plate. So it was kind of an anomaly for those first 8 innings. I'm very glad he did that at a moment like that. But I mean, it's just, Julian's on a whole other level right now. We'll get to that in a second.
He's heating up, man.
It's insane how well he's hitting the ball and seeing the ball right now.
Yep, the Cajuns come back on Saturday. Again, we kind of mentioned, what did Nick say? It's Neza, Jackson Neza. You start Jackson Neza for I know it's a Saturday start, but the back end of the series, I know they really want to give him a chance because they're high on him, but yet again, you come out in 2 1/3. He gives up 4 hits, 7 runs, 7 earned runs, but he walked 4 guys. Again, those free passes they're gonna kill you. They're gonna come back and get you. He struggles. And then I thought David Christie came in and saved the game. 3 shutout innings. He only gave up 3 hits in those shutout innings. He gave up a walk and a strikeout through 46 pitches, but he gave the offense an opportunity to fight back. And in a 4-game series, people are digging in the very back of their bullpen trying to find somebody to give them some good quality innings. David Christie stepped up and did that for you early in the game. Because if somebody doesn't come in there and shut the door and stop the bleeding, the offense doesn't have an opportunity to get back in that thing. So I think that David Christie was the MVP on Saturday. Cooper Rawls came in and got out of a jam. He had a strikeout, gave up a hit and a run, an earned run. He did have a walk, but I thought that he gave you it's an inning and 2/3, but it was 5 solid outs, and there were stress outs. He really had to get himself out of some hot grease. So I give him some credit. JT Etheridge, we saw again. He came in and gave you 2 good innings, or an inning and a third. But here's the thing: he got a bad luck 2-run line there. He didn't deserve what he got, but it is what it is. Fluno came in and finished it off. Thought he was good. I do like what I've seen out of Fluno so far. But as a whole, I mean, you got to be, again, I think that what I take away from the Saturday pitching performance is David Christie coming in there, stopping the bleeding for 3 innings and allowing the offense to get back in the game. Did you see the same?
100%. I was about to say that. I think whenever you are going back and forth and you're having a hitter's duel, whenever you're trailing and you're kind of creeping your way back in, when you have a performance like David Christie does, you don't have to worry about scoring 6 runs in an inning, right? So you just gave up a 5-run inning. You're down 7-4. A lot of times there's panic and you think, okay, our pitching's going to still kind of struggle. Let's get all our runs back now. Well, we didn't have to do that. We were able to get, I think we got 2 3-run innings. We were able to get a run or 2 each inning after that.
Back to back.
And
yep.
I mean, David Christie was able to hold off the floodwaters on their end and allow us to catch up. So that was huge. I like the way our team fought back after something like that. There was absolutely no panic whatsoever, and we just creeped our way in. I mean, if you saw the next inning after that, when we tied it up at 7, when we were down 7-4 after giving up that 5-run inning, notice how we got the runs. There was no crazy line drives. There was no home runs. Fielder's choice. 2 of the runs were scored off of fielder's choice. So That just goes to show you there's a lot of discipline at the plate. It also goes to show you that, again, the guys didn't panic. And then from there, once you tied it at 7, I don't know about you guys, but I was at the point where I'm like, all right, we're at home. We got the momentum back. I think at this point we might score double-digit runs and we'll find a way to win. And they did. So
And who tied it? Stelly again.
Yeah.
I thought that was a big moment in the game. You get it back to level. It's a new game. You still got a few innings to go. I think that team played like they don't care what the score is. They expect to win. And
Absolutely.
I'm starting to believe it as a fan. You know, the
Absolutely.
CDS has receded.
And I think that's what I was talking about earlier is the fact that we don't feel like we're resetting from last season. We feel like that's a carryover because as we went through the end of last season, we kind of always had that feeling like, okay, we'll find a way to win. We'll find a way to pull it out. And that's why it's refreshing to not have to start all over. Like we still have that feeling going into this season. So that's why I have so much encouraging thoughts about how this season's going to go down. Now, again, you look at the pitching and I get what you said, but we gave up 9 more walks, free bases this game. I mean, that's like 8
by the pitching staff.
Yeah. Like 18 in 2 games. It's going to bite us at some point this season if we don't fix it. So we got to fix that. That to me, that's an easy fix, but we got to do it soon because it will bite us if we don't.
Now, I'm not saying this is an excuse, but I'm much more willing to put up with 7 walks at the end on the back end of a 4-game set. You know what I mean? Again, I made the comment to Jerry about how these 4-game series are so tough because you're digging for pitching at the end of it. And that's why I thought David Christie was so important because he showed that you can go way deep down in the depths of that bullpen and find somebody to give you 3 quality innings when you need it. BYU didn't have that luxury. So I thought that was a big moment. Those 3 innings was I thought he was the MVP of that game. And then Will Veillon hit a ball to Kaplan that just electrified the crowd, got everybody back involved. I don't know, man. Again, where are the holes? CJ Willis is hitting 429. He's not even an everyday first baseman. Now, I know he's been in the lineup a lot, but Jerry actually said CJ's going to have a big year this year. And so far, I can't count on one hand how many clutch at bats that guy's had. Max Marshak kind of got off the schneid a little bit on Saturday. Rock, I don't think Rock had a hit. No, he was hitless on Saturday, but I think he may have been the only starter. Yeah, he was the only starter without a hit, which is nuts. So he did walk twice. But yeah, Debo is just catching fire. Heath Hood continues to be Heath Hood. His on-base percentage is through the roof. And Julian just put him to sleep. I mean, he put him in the cradle and he rocked him to sleep with a warm glass of milk. The double to right center, then the double. No, it was the double on the right side, right over the first baseman's head, and then he hit the one in the gap. It was a beautiful thing to see.
It's the thing about Julian is not just the fact that he's got power to his swing, it's where he places the ball. I mean, you got the center and right fielder at BYU playing shallow, and what does he do? He hits it in the gap in their direction to right field. I mean, then he's got that. He did it Friday night too, right? To get the go ahead winning run. Hits it oppo to right field.
That's
I mean,
right.
When you got ball placement like that, you can't really prepare for it because he's already got power to his swing. So, I mean, to me, if I am a major league scout right now, I'm salivating at the idea that this guy could bring his bat to any of these major league teams. I mean, that's what they look for.
And his defense, how many? I don't know how many throwouts he had this week, but I'm going to look it up before we get off. I mean, that guy, he thwarts offensive attacks. You cannot run on him. You can't even get a decent lead off of second base. He's going to pick your ass off. He'll at least try.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he's not afraid to throw it to second base either if you're leading. He is not afraid to do it, even if he's safe. So, no, Julian, that's the one saving grace of the offseason to me was the fact that Julian stayed, because I know there were talks of him maybe getting drafted, taking a chance. I know T-Rob, he went, but we were scared that Julian might do the same. And the fact that he stayed, that gave, I don't know about you guys, but that gave me so much more optimism going into this season with that type of leadership and that type of presence behind the plate and his bat, and guys feed off of that. I mean, players feed off of that. I mean, he's everything he's doing right now has been outstanding. You just hope that he keeps it going because, of course, it's a 56-game season. You can run into a slump every once in a while, but from what we're seeing so far with Julian, I mean, he's just tearing the tar off the baseball.
But again, this is the epitome of what what he is in that spot in the lineup, because they're going to pitch around Rock. I mean, you see right here, 2 walks in the game. Okay, that's on purpose. So then you got Brock to clean it up after it. That's a perfect place in the lineup. I mean, how can you pitch around that? Okay, so you walk Rock, and then you got Brock coming up to bat. That's not a good feeling for the opposing head coach. So I think, again, holes in the lineup, I don't see any right now.
And then you got Hoodie just
on
fire in the 2-hole.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so I don't know. What do you think about this? So I remember when we played Ole Miss in the Super Regional in 2014 and seeing the size of their batters, right? Like guys like, what was the name? Sykes Orvis and a few other those guys.
Screw that dude.
I mean, they're all just gigantic like hitters, and they all just have power to their swing. And I always kind of thought to myself, like, if we had 2 or 3 of those type of batters to hit for us, like how much of a difference it would make on top of the talent we have already. Heath Hood's that guy. You see him go up to the plate. I mean, he could play anywhere. You look at the size, you look at the power, and you just realize, like, sometimes we ask ourselves, like, how did we get him? How is he not playing at a P5? Like, how did we pull this off?
Well, dude,
and
Stelly
I'm so glad.
Stelly turned down Major League money to come here. Look at Zambo. Zambo's huge.
The size we have on our bats. And not only do we have size, they're athletic. You know, they're very athletic. So it's good to be on that side. With the athleticism that we already have with guys like Debo and Rocco, and just to name a few.
And I'm just going to say, and then you have a lineup where you have CJ Willis at number 9. Oh, and he's just going to turn the lineup over to Debo. Oh, and who's hitting behind Debo? Hood. I mean, there is no break in this lineup. I mean, maybe you can say right now Marshak, but when he starts getting, into the groove of things, they have no chance against us hitting wise.
And you see Marshak could be a leadoff because he's so fast. I mean, you could put him anywhere in the lineup as long as he gets on base. He kind of reminds me of what Ryan Leonard's was, where he can kind of move around. Now, CJ, you saw that bomb he hit to the wall. I told him after the game, I was by the cooking club, and I congratulated him. Hey, CJ, great game, buddy. And I remember telling him, I was like, look, man, when you're running around second base and you go into third, do the Superman, slide forward, because you might have made it to third base. I know it was a close call, but the fact that your 9-hitter can hit a line drive out into the gap and into right center, and again, that graveyard that we have at the Tigue, like you said, Nick, if you're an opposing coach, how do you prepare for that lineup? How do you prepare for that? How do you prepare for that?
Say a rosary.
I was going to say you pray.
Hey, look, no, CJ's been awesome, and having a left-handed bat like that down at the bottom of your lineup is a hell of a luxury. Y'all were talking about Max. Leonard's is one of my favorite Cajuns of all time, so this is not a shot. But Max Marshak is way more athletic than Ryan Leonard's. And that guy's ridiculous. Speaking of, how good has his defense been at third base?
Outstanding.
Oh, that last play of the game, right?
Yeah, he ended the game.
Outstanding.
But there was one, I think it was Thursday. I think it was Friday. He made a great diving catch to his glove side. On the line.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
it was a line
Friday.
drive right on the line.
You know who he reminds me of? Nathan Nelson from back in the day.
Holy cow.
I'm just saying.
Words, man.
I'm getting flashbacks of Nathan.
But you see, the advantage of Marshak is that he's played the outfield to where if you have a foul ball anywhere in foul territory, I mean, he can make the play. It's a routine fly ball for him. And on top of that, his speed. The biggest concern for me going into the season at him at third base was the fact that can he hit a line drive grounder, like one of those hard grounders? Can he field that? And he's been able to do that too. So his speed and just the fact that he's able to retrieve some decent foul balls, I think he could be solid as the season goes on, and he's going to get more experience.
He's been amazing.
He's only going to get better. He's only going to get better the more experience he gets there.
You said, ooh, watch what I tell you. At the end of the season, you're going to be agreeing with me. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And then look, we've kind of had a revolving door at second base, but not for, defensive problems. It's been more for lineup changes. Even the defense up the middle has been very good. Look, 4-game series at home. We made 1 error all week.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about the defense, but.
No, that's impressive, man.
It's been a while since we were very sure up the middle. And of course, good baseball teams have to be good defensively up the middle.
52nd in the country in fielding percentage right now. So
wow. Hey, and by the way, Rock played a fantastic center field this week.
He did.
Made a couple of big time catches at the wall.
He's not afraid to run back too. There were a few of them that hit the wall. I mean, he was gunning it.
Now, it's not the old green wall, all right, that John Coker
Like John
puts some
Coker.
divots in, right?
No. Let's see. All right, I'm going to pull up the conference stuff. Anybody have any comments about the series overall? Talk amongst yourselves, and I'm going to find our stats for the conference.
Look, I'm just going to say it again. You saw what they did against UL Ruston. They were impressive. They split the series. Kind of what I was expecting they would do for us. I thought we would win 3 out of 4. Prefer us to come out and sweep them. Again, a 4-game series against a team that 3 games you just kind of get to know the hitters and how to pitch against them. 4, that's tough to win all 4. And like you said, we didn't do it since the 90s, so that is impressive. I think BYU is a solid ball club. Defensively, not so much, but I think otherwise they're a solid ball club. We'll see what they do this season. I think that'll give us a little bit of an idea of as they progress and what their record looks like as they go back home to Provo. We'll have a better feel for how impressive this 4-game series was. But for me, coming off that Rice series, good things.
Look, you're 6-1 and you beat 2. I mean, obviously these 2 teams are not, they're not juggernauts, but at the same time, they're familiar names with Rice and BYU. They're familiar names. And you're off to your best start since 2014. And to me, from what I've seen so far, I feel like this is kind of the Degs team that we always kind of wanted. A team that can hit from 1 to 9, a team with decent pitching to bail you out, a team with decent fielding to bail you out. And we have all 3 so far. We have all 3 7 games in. So it's a long season, but I like what I see so far only because, and you said this the other day, Josh, at the game, all 4 of these wins, we won each game in different ways. Wednesday night, we had to come back. We got 2 hits up until the 8th inning, and we get a 3-run rally in the bottom of the 8th to win it, with Blake Marshall coming in, just shutting them down in the 9th. You basically win with gorilla ball on Thursday night. Friday, you win with pitching, and Saturday, you you have a hitter's duel. You won 4 different ways. So the fact that we were able to experience all 4 of those situations against now, when you move forward against these, just as good, if not better competition, you have that experience now. Because guess what? Some of these teams that we're going to face later on that are good, they're not winning that way. They're playing teams that are probably terrible, hanging 15, 20 runs on them, but they're not getting challenged. I feel that we've been challenged so far. Even against Rice, I feel like we've been challenged to be able to face these type of adversities now.
And before I go back to you, Josh, I'm just going to say, it feels like the competition has gotten tougher. So Rice to week 2 and now Campbell coming up, it's a good progression. So I like the way that our schedule is playing out early in the season.
Campbell's good. They're very good.
They can swing it.
They beat East Carolina. I think they gave East Carolina their only loss so far.
Number 11. Yeah.
6-5. Yep. I want to tell everybody, if they have any comments, please request to speak. Lane Johnson, our buddy, has requested. Lane, the floor is yours, sir.
What's going on, y'all? I was able to go to 3 of the 4 games this weekend for baseball. It was cool to see like the different ways we were able to win. Actually, a stat that I just pulled up. The team is hitting 285 through 7 games, and that's the best start since the 2013 team.
Wow.
So there's a lot of similarities between the 2013-2014 season with this team so far.
That's cool. And that 2013 team became the 2014 team. So, I mean, that's fun. That's fun to think about.
And what I like too is the chaos on the bases is not all just trying to steal. It's the suicide squeeze. It's the bunt down the line, and then maybe we'll score 2. It's true chaos all around, because it's not. I felt like last season we tried to press so much on just stealing, like every chance we had, and this season it seems like we really have them off balance and not knowing what we're going to do next, and so that's fun. I remember those days, and that was always fun for me when Robe would coach those small ball teams.
And then also too, like, that's why we were so we would scratch our heads and be a little critical at times in the last 2 years was the fact that Degs takes chances. I mean, we all knew that. But the thing about Degs is It's either 100% or 0%. There's no in between. You try, he makes a call and we attempt it. If it fails, it looks horrible. But if it works, it looks like the most genius thing. I mean, put it in the Louvre. It looks fantastic. There's no in between with Deggs in the way he coaches. So, but to allude to that, in order for a lot of this stuff to work, you need personnel. I feel like it's safe to say that we finally have the personnel to pull it off. We finally have the personnel to pull it off, from the base running to the way, like you said, the chaos. I feel like the players have bought into it. Whereas, 2 years ago, I think it was one game where Deggs calls poor Ozzy. We love Drake Osborne, right? Drake Osborne had a bum knee, and Deggs is calling him home. Behind, I forgot somebody was at third. Drake was at second base, and he's calling him home. Literally, the catcher's eating a Subway sandwich, probably with the ball in his hand, just tagging him out as he gets home. And you're like, what are you doing? Why are you calling that? But again, personnel. I think Deggs finally has the personnel to where next time he calls that, we're going to be safe at home. It's 2 runs instead of the catcher just playing, on his phone, waiting to tag Drake out.
I was so angry at that. Okay, Lane, you have anything else, bud?
Josh, you saying you were angry at that? There was a lot of anger from you in the last couple of seasons.
The first season and a half was insanity. Oh my gosh. All right, Lane, we appreciate you participating, man. I really appreciate your comments as always. Anybody else want to get in, please request. We'll get you on. For Mike Patin, wanted to get back to the conference stuff. There wasn't too many really crucial series played this week in the conference. I will say that Nebraska dominated South Alabama, swept them. Now, Nebraska has the number 2 RPI in the country, so that's something, but I thought South Al would at least take one, especially at home. They did not. In fact, they didn't look good at all. That was surprising. Southern Miss lost the series to Illinois. Now, Illinois hasn't been great, and they are a big, they're a P5 school, but Southern Miss has got to win that series at the Pete. That is very surprising, and they lost 13-5 on Friday. They won 14-13 Saturday, and then they came back and lost again 9-4 on getaway day. Very surprising to me.
But what's the common denominator? How many runs did they give up all weekend to Illinois?
Well, they're a lot
more
more susceptible than we thought, because I know. Look, they lost Waldrop to Florida. They had a couple other guys that moved on. One graduated out of the bullpen, can't remember his name, but they still had Tanner Hall, which, I mean, that guy's going to be a high round draft pick, and he may be the best pitcher in the Sun Belt Conference. He got touched. They roughed him up. So, I mean, Illinois just beat him.
I mean, but at the same time, it's like what we talked about, right? You need pit. You're not going to be able to hit the ball every game. You got to have pitching to bail you out. Well, Southern Miss gave up 36 runs this weekend to Illinois. That's 12 runs a game, man.
Can't find a Southern Miss fan around on Twitter right now. They're all in hiding.
It's very funny how quiet they get.
They're gonna be posting like some attendance smack in a second if I keep talking.
I mean,
but we had 100 more fans than you. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Look, I'll keep running this down. ULM went and embarrassed Mississippi State in the midweek, and then they turn around and lose the series to SIU Edwardsville, whatever that is. They play in the Ohio Valley. They lose that series. Way to go, ULM.
Is that the most ULM thing ever?
It's perfect.
It's the most ULM thing ever. It's like in football,
they were almost
beat Alabama,
good,
but they'll finish 5-7 on the year. Like, it's the most ULM thing ever.
Just brutal. Troy sweeps Stony Brook. They had a good game today, 9-7. Troy wins that game. I think Troy's going to be one of those teams in the conference that you don't want to play. I think they're going to be good. Yeah, they're 7-0. That's true. Haven't really been tested, but still 7-0 is 7-0. Texas State ends up losing the series at home to Oral Roberts. Now, we all know that Oral Roberts is a good team. We saw them in the regional. They can still swing the bat. They take 2 of 3 from Texas State on the road. Very interesting, but a really good series overall. I think every game was within 3 runs. So Oral Roberts, a good baseball team. We know that. They're 6-2 overall, and they play in the Summit League, which is a good league. So Texas State didn't really help out the conference this weekend. But that's okay. Maybe we need to bring them down to reality. So if you remember, going over there was those bastards were cocky. They pissed me off. ODU takes the series from Fordham. I think they swept, actually. ODU is 7-1 on the season. I think that they're going to be a formidable opponent. They can swing the bat. They had a doubleheader today. I didn't realize that.
They were the
11-3 and 19-1. Yikes.
weren't they the first 4 out of the regional last year?
They were, and they deserved to be, and that was a travesty.
Well, Ole Miss got picked over them, and then Ole Miss went into winning the national championship.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. App State sweeps North Carolina A&T. App State beat High Point in their midweek game, 16-7. That is a score of interest because we'll be playing High Point in a couple weeks. High Point went to Alabama and gave them a series. They ended up getting swept, but they were competitive in every game. High Point is not St. Peter's, folks. High Point is not going to be one of those series you can just go to sleep and still get the sweep. We have to show
Well, you
up.
don't think they're going to go 0-56?
No, I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening.
I hope
Georgia
not.
Georgia State takes care of Brown as they should. They played a doubleheader today, and they won 6-5, 10-1. James Madison, who I don't know anything about. I got to be honest with you. They're a new conference mate. I know that their sport is basketball and football. I don't know anything about James Madison. They're 4-3
softball
overall.
too.
That's true, softball. But they played Cornell and they swept Cornell. So good on them. Helped out the conference there. Marshall played Charleston Southern and took that series. They won today 12-1. Coastal Carolina kind of got smoked today, but they ended up winning the series. They took 2 out of 3 from Creighton. That was at Coastal Carolina. I don't know what to make of Coastal. Sometimes they look great, sometimes they don't. We'll see. Georgia Southern loses again today to East Tennessee State. Very interesting. I thought so. East Tennessee State lost their hitting coach. He went to, I'm going to forget where he went, but he got a big job, P5 job. East Tennessee State had been hitting the ball forever. They can score runs. Georgia Southern, they just didn't come to play today. They got smoked 10-2. I think that their pitching on the back end is suspect as well. Yet to be seen, but looks like the Cajuns really had the best weekend of all the conference mates. By the way, Mike, the conference overall in non-conference action, obviously we're still in non-conference, 70-29. 70-29 overall record. We did fall in the RPI. I mean, honestly, RPIs, we still got a month before it matters, but the conference RPI is 6 right now. So that's what the conference looked like this weekend. It's still a good league. I think we're going to be a top 5 league when this is all over with, and that's going to bode well for postseason appearances. I think it's going to be a lot of fun in the Sun Belt this year. Boys, any thoughts?
No, I'm with you, man. I think it'll be good. Hopefully another 4-bid season for us. Yeah. Because I think, again, we've played good baseball in the first couple of weeks, and I think that'll continue. And hopefully get the respect that we deserve as a league, and that we're not Power 5, because there is no such thing as a Power 5 baseball league. I hate when people say that. So no, looking forward to the to what our conference mates do the rest of the off season, I guess, or the preseason before we get into conference play.
I saw a graphic. I think it was the Thursday game that I didn't go to, where they showed the preseason poll for the conference, and I think what stuck out to me was the fact that I think Troy was like 7th or 8th. They were picked 7th or 8th, which goes to show you, as good as Troy is, that 6 or 7 teams ahead of them that are legit. I mean, I'll just name a few: Southern Miss, Old Dominion, UL, Texas State, Georgia Southern, Coastal Carolina, Troy. That's 6 teams right there. I mean, all 6 of those teams, plus maybe 3 or 4 more, are good enough to go to a regional. So it's gonna be a grind, but it only makes us better. It makes the conference better, and this conference can be a top 5 conference, like you said, Josh. I expect it to be a top 5 conference. The fact that we were picked 4th and as good as we are goes to show you how strong this conference, how strong it is. So I'm excited about that. I look forward to that, because I think if you're in the top 5 in the Sun Belt, you're most likely going to a regional, barring any crazy losses, as long as you compete and play the way you're supposed to. This is not only going to be a multi-team league. I think you can have good 4 or 5 teams easily. Maybe 1 or 2 of which can host.
I'm with you. At the end of the day, the Cajuns are 6-1, best start in a couple years. What was it?
14.
14.
Since
Okay.
14.
Wow. All right. Well, good enough.
I'm
at the
having
end of the
fun.
day, I care about that the most. It's fun. It's fun to go to the ballpark.
I'm loving
again.
this. I feel like we're back. Y'all think we're back right now? I mean, it feels like we're back.
I'm not.
We're
saying
back every
anything in
year,
the future.
Jerry.
I'm not saying anything in the future.
Omaha every year.
I'm not doing it. This will wrap it up for us. Thank you guys for coming to the second edition of Track to Pack. We're going to keep doing it on Sundays. By all means, we need your participation. We do it for you guys. So let us know what you're thinking. Let's see. I don't want to forget anything. Shout out to the girls for taking 1 of 2 from that school across the basin in softball. That was fun.
Who's that center fielder? What is her name?
Maya Wilson.
She is a beast.
It's Wilson, right, Jerry?
Davis, isn't it?
Maya Davis. I'm so sorry about that. It is Maya Davis.
Maya is amazing. She made that amazing catch, and then today almost made an equally amazing
Almost
catch.
robbed
She's
a home
crazy.
run. Yeah.
Unreal. And shout out to the basketball team for being undefeated in the Cajun Dome for the first time in school history. Rate, review, subscribe. Instagram, Facebook, the gram, everything. We're out of here. Thanks, guys.